Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we are here to talk some Sooners on this Stars. Some party in the Palace. OU hosted a lot of the top 26 and 27 kids in the nation. Like, that's not even hyperbole. They are a lot of the top kids in the country. All migrated to Norman, Oklahoma over Wednesday and Thursday. Left this morning. We're recording this on a Friday afternoon, and we will have the latest right here for you on where things stand with some of the top targets that Oklahoma's in on. As the 25 class is virtually done for Oklahoma, as they head into the 2024 season, the inaugural SEC season. So Oklahoma is really focused in on this 26 class. We have all that for you right here on this podcast. Parker, we got bills to pay, right?
That we do. This episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is brought to you by Mando. Now, folks, do you often find yourself in a situation where your suitcase exceeds the weight limit? Brandon can relate. I'm sure many of you can as well. If you're inclined to be a heavy packer, well, get this. Mando can't solve all your problems in one fell swoop, but they can help simplify your travel with the 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar. It's a 5-ounce bar that does the work of a shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant. You can also use it to create a rich shaving lather. So technically it's a 5-in-1, and it's clinically proven to control odor for 24 hours. Mando's 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar is formulated with a gentle alpha hydroxy acid that stops odor at the source. Now, regular soap can't do that because the pH is too high. Most airlines have a 50-pound weight limit for your suitcase. So guess what? You can pack one of these and you got 49 pounds and 11 ounces left to toy with. Moreover, we got you an exclusive deal. New customers can get $5 off Mando's best-selling starter pack with code INSIDER at shopmando.com. The starter pack is perfect, or the starter pack, excuse me, is perfect for new customers. Now, it comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes, as well as free shipping. That discount code to help you get hooked on our favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with this exclusive code, which equates to over 40% off your starter pack. And that code is INSIDER at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Mando, check them out, folks.
There you go. So Parker, you've talked to some people. I've talked to some people.
Gosh, it's been a busy day, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I still got a zillion phone calls I got to make once we get done with this podcast.
Yeah. I've had some people blow me up about, I think first and foremost, I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Duce Geralds, 5-star defensive tackle out of Georgia. Doesn't have a Georgia offer. Second trip to Oklahoma. And to say Oklahoma killed it and Todd Bates killed it is an understatement. I know there's a lot of people that feel like, and they don't want to get their hopes up when you say a defensive tackle from Georgia.
Which is understandable. To be
totally fair. Understandable, but this dude doesn't have a Georgia offer. And this guy is a legacy of Ole Miss, which means they're not really, he doesn't have to play in Georgia. They're going to be open to play other places. Dad, mom, everybody was in Norman. At the 5-star challenge, I spoke with Duce Geralds' mother, and you were there. And her exact words to us was, any one of my kids could go play for Todd Bates. I love that man.
Again, folks, print a t-shirt.
Yep.
Moms love Todd Bates.
Yes, they do. And so now the visit took place. Duce Geralds, I don't want to give away too much on here, obviously, but he's going to return to Oklahoma. And that date is already set. And let's just say there are some other elite targets coming back on that date that has already been set up. And this date will be one of the bigger dates in Oklahoma recruiting history because of, as far as visits go, because of the magnitude of this date. I think I'm probably giving that part away. and what that date stands for. It's probably going to be a night game. I mean, you got two top 50 kids already lined up. There's a potential for a third, from my understanding, defensive back
Yeah.
already being lined up potentially for a visit. I don't, it's not confirmed yet, but I'm being told that there is a really good chance that's taking place. So that's why I say if you got three top 50 kids in 2026 already lined up and it's July 26th for this date, are you kidding me, Parker? Like,
Yeah.
and,
That's
and,
big
and,
time.
and it's not just that. It's like the fact that Oklahoma has a chance with Duce Gerald. You don't make a third trip back if you're not considering Oklahoma. At this juncture, Parker, and I know it's early, I will be shocked if OU's not a top, doesn't get an official visit from him. I will be
Yeah.
shocked.
I mean, they're certainly on the right track to do so. And to me, Brandon, let me tell you what I perceive. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think the needle is starting to move with rising sophomores and rising juniors a lot more seismically than it has throughout the Brent Venables era, because I think you're finally starting to see some of those barriers, some of those inhibitors broken down.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is let's rewind 2 years. Let's rewind even 1 year. The summer of 2023.
Okay.
Yes, Oklahoma's transitioning to the SEC. Yes, the culture is very, very strong. There's a great family vibe, all of that. What are going to be the two main apprehensions for any elite target that shows up to the University of Oklahoma despite those things? It's going to be, and these are virtually interchangeable. This is in no particular order, but one, can you win? You
Oh,
just went 6-7 last year. I love what you're telling me, but you have to show me. Go win football games, and then
check.
maybe I'll take greater interest. You checked that box with 10 wins in 2023. You have the chance to check that box with a flourish in 2024 if you can debut with a strong inaugural season in the SEC. And then the other thing is, can you meet my needs and meet my desires from an NIL standpoint?
Check.
And that was something that naturally there were a lot of prospects and families and folks in the recruiting circle in general that weren't really sure about whether that was even a priority for Oklahoma at that point, whether that was something that they were going to take seriously. The Dominic Williams recruitment opened so many eyes as to the lengths to which Oklahoma is going to go in that capacity. So when those two inhibitors no longer exist, or at the very least have been minimized, then what you have is not only does the culture strike a chord, not only does the SEC transition strike a chord, but there's nothing that you can really hold against the Oklahoma staff at this point. Nothing that really seriously concerns you about the prospect of a future at the University of Oklahoma. Now, whether that is the school you're willing to choose over all the rest, that remains to be seen. That's one does not necessarily equal the other, but what that does mean, Brandon, is that Oklahoma has the ability to position itself in a much greater spot than it ever has before with nationally
Yeah.
elite prospects who are going to have offers coast to coast and are looking for those schools that can check every single one of their boxes. You're getting to the point where, yes, you've been able to check most of the boxes, but for a lot of these kids, you'll be able to check all of the boxes.
Yeah. I mean that's right. And it look, distance, that's always going to play a factor with Oklahoma just because they're on the other side of the Mississippi River. Arkansas, Missouri has issues with that. A&M runs into a little bit of an issue, but where they're located down there by Houston, only 2 hours or so away from Louisiana, which means they're only 3 or 4 hours away from Mississippi, which means they're only 6 hours away from Alabama. They have a little bit more of a, I guess, they have a better location as far as SEC goes than Texas or Oklahoma does, or Missouri or Arkansas, right? So yes, that plays into it. But I mean, with the fact Oklahoma City you can get anywhere basically from the airport, and Norman's right there, 20 minutes away from the airport. And a lot of people don't know that until they come here. I think that distance factor kind of dwindles, especially since you're going to be playing multiple games in their region now on the road every year. Somewhere, some way, you're going to be playing within a 3 or 4 hour drive away from their home multiple times. So I think that also helps Oklahoma in SEC territory now. And you add to the fact that you have big names. I mean, David Stone and Jaden Jackson and Dominique Williams were the lead guys out there pushing for Oklahoma at the Sooners Under the Stars. Like, come here, play with us. I don't expect Dominique Williams to be back next year. Best case scenario for Oklahoma is that he's not back. That means he was badass, which means the defensive line was really good.
Yep.
And you have youth and youthful talent coming up that you really don't need that to take place, right? Like, that's not the necessity that it once was. And we've talked about that before. It just is starting to feel like, and you've seen it, obviously, Oklahoma, they've had they've had a top 7 class, 8 class, all 3 of the cycles that Venables has been in Norman. That says something, right? Like, that says that things are changing. That staff is an amazing recruiting staff. And now you've got the SEC. No, it's not just a talking point now. It's a reality, Parker. You're in the SEC. Now you've got the brands, the OU brand combined with the SEC brand. It's a reality. It's a reality. You're going to show that this year. As you said, if Oklahoma can go out, win 8, 9 games year one with that schedule, you don't think there's not going to be teams that are players out there in 26 going to go, with that schedule, the number 1 or number 2 most difficult schedule in the country, they win 8, 9 games. They made it to the playoff. Potentially, you win 9 games to that schedule. I think you're a playoff team. Yeah, I can go play there. Easier the schedule gets, the more wins you're going to get, the better your seeding is going to get in the playoff down the line, particularly with Venables and the Oklahoma label there. So you have all these things combining. It's like a perfect storm. And I have to say, like, David Stone and Jaden Jackson, it's hard to put into words what their commitments meant to Oklahoma from that point on, because I think it opened up a reality for other players in other classes that it was okay to leave DC, to leave Florida. And I'm talking about Trent Wilson, obviously Floyd Bicard recently, right? You can leave those regions and go play at Oklahoma. And that's going to be, you're going to be successful. And it's cool to do it now. Remember, there was a time when defensive line, it was not cool to go to OU. That wasn't that long ago, Parker. That wasn't that long ago. Times have changed, and they've changed quick. I'm also going to give credit to Jaden O'Neal. That dude is recruiting his butt off right now. Recruiting it. He showed up. He's on campus until tomorrow afternoon. We're recording this on a Friday afternoon. He's on campus until tomorrow evening, which means he will be at the party in the Palace tonight with the 25s, which means he's going to try to build a relationship with the 25 class. It's going to be, I don't know how that's going to work, but because they do have a quarterback in that class, but I guess they're all going to be teammates. They got to get along, right? Like, everybody's got to get together and play together. So, but he went out and performed yesterday. Like, people don't understand. Sooners on the Stars isn't just an event.
No,
it's a camp. It's a camp. And I think from that point on, I want you to talk about Eli Johnson real quickly, because I got something to add to what he just picked up the offer. You talked to him, but I've got something to add that a source told me about him, but I'm going to let you go first on this.
Yeah, Eli Johnson, real versatile, real sizable defensive back from Cibolo Steele High School down outside of San Antonio. If you recognize that school, it's because 4-star 2026 running back commit Jonathan Hatton goes there right now. So he is teammates with Eli Johnson. and he is already in Eli Johnson's ear about Oklahoma. Now, Eli Johnson is class of 27, so it's a ways down the road. Don't really have to go full throttle on recruiting that kid yet, but the Sooners are building early relationships with him. And I think what stands out to me from my conversation with Eli, which I went in depth on at OUinsider.com, but he mentioned that he's building relationships with a number of coaches on the Oklahoma staff. OU has made sure that he doesn't just have one point of contact on staff, that multiple coaches are reaching out to him, developing that bond, and making sure he knows he's wanted at the University of Oklahoma. So Eli Johnson, definitely a name to know in the 2027 cycle.
I'll go even further. He was so impressive yesterday at Sooners Under the Stars that I spoke to a source last night, and this source just glowed and glowed and glowed about Eli Johnson. Number one, Oklahoma has made a big dent with that kid. It's way early, right? 2.5 years away from his signing day, whatever. If you all remember, there was a time when Jonah Williams in Oklahoma seemed like it was a just foregone conclusion. And one of these days we will dive into why that was. But this source walked away from that and went, if there was ever a replica of Jonah Williams, it's Eli Johnson. 6'3", 190 already. He is easily, and I quote, will be 6'3", 210, 215 by the time he's done playing college football. And he moves so well. They said he is a more fluid Jonah Williams.
More fluid.
Yes. This person knows what they're talking about too. I will even add to that. They said if he's not a 5-star, whoever's evaluating him at the networks, recruiting services, need to have their eyes checked.
Okay. Well, that'll set the expectations
super high for the kid,
high.
But I think it's when somebody of that ilk says stuff like that, you kind of, it's something. And these people know what they're talking about. And I didn't hear that from just one person. Today, I was speaking to somebody that was there, and that was one of the DBs that they literally pointed out, like, that dude is a bad mother scuther. So very impressive. Brandon Arrington did not participate in the events, from what I'm told. He did not do the camp, which is fine. The potential 5-star defensive back. But he hung out with Jaden O'Neal and obviously Duce Geralds quite a bit. The other player that he hung out with quite a bit was Ryder Mix, and I'll get into Ryder Mix in just a minute. The tight end, 2026 tight end commit for Oklahoma out of Frisco Lone Star. But Brandon Arrington, I think Jay Belay is doing a fantastic job from what I'm being told with him.
Yep. 100%.
If he doesn't make a return trip during the season, again, will be a shock. Will be a shock if that doesn't happen. Like you said, I think this staff is they're just doing work the way that they're supposed to do work. Jordan Deck, another Frisco Lone Star, 2026 4-star safety. OU leads for him. I am so close to putting in a future cast for him.
Pull the trigger, dang it.
I texted you last night. I'm just always so skittish on that right now. And it has nothing to do with my confidence in the pick. I think Parker can tell you as well. Like, if that dude doesn't go to OU, well, it'll be kind of shocking at this point. Would you agree with that?
OU leads.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of confidence in Norman right there for obvious reasons. Now, A&M has a commit, right, out of Mesquite Horn.
You're referring to Markel Ford, I assume.
Markel Ford, 4-star safety. he and Jordan Decker are very close. Good friends. Guess where Markel was yesterday? Committed to Texas A&M. He wasn't at A&M. He was in Norman last night. And that thing ain't over, Parker. It's not over.
No,
I think you and I both have said that from the get-go, and
it
I
was
can
just such
see.
an out of nowhere, such a quick commitment to
Yeah.
A&M that you kind of got the sense even when it dropped, okay, that's probably not the end of the end, you know?
No, but there are people in his camp that really like A&M. That is why the commitment took place. But OU has really kind of pinpointed that Jordan Deck and Markel Ford are going to be their guys that they're going to go after. They'll take two if it's those two right now. Not saying that they won't take others, obviously, but I think those two, like we feel and we know that they will take two if it's those two because those are two of their top targets. So they have other guys at top targets as well. But those two kind of stand out more than others right now. But Ryder mix, and then you can go into what you've talked to some people, a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how Ryder mix isn't a 4-star because now
I don't
that
either, man.
so
He will
I
be.
yeah, I talked to multiple people. I don't think this dad will even be mind if I bring his name up here. So um Jaron, that guy, man, he just sent me another quote. Duce Geralds just sent me another quote. Oh. Um, I'd already wrote the story. That sucks. um, but anyways, Ryder Mix is Jaron O'Neill said Ryder Mix is just stupid good. He was almost uncoverable. He said, and the connection that he and Jaden O'Neill have already, his son, OU's quarterback commit, he said is just off the charts, which is a good sign if you're an OU fan, right? You guys should be excited about that because I think there's going to be a time when people look back at that commit and it just kind of got glossed over when it first happened because everyone's like, oh, a 3-star tight end, Joe John Finley once again. No, this was a fantastic evaluation by Joe John Finley.
Mhm. Yeah, you take one look at the
Fantastic.
film, and that's how you know. Like that's how you know who's serious and who's not about
Yeah.
their opinions of Ryder Mix and Joe John Finley for that matter. Like if somebody's going to dismiss that commitment because he's only a 3-star, that person has not watched the tape because
No.
Ryder Mix's film is very impressive. And I would project with some degree of confidence that he ends up a top 10 tight end in the 2026 class when
Oh, I
all is
think
said.
that's easy. Yeah.
Maybe top 5. He's that like he is everything that a
I'm not
P4
disagreeing with
tight
you.
end should
That's
look
just
for.
bold. I'm not. I agree, but we're gonna be looked at as homers because of that, right? Like, yeah,
Oh,
because he's
yeah,
committed a
and that's
years in
fine.
OU
But
legacy,
like,
like, yeah,
I mean, for instance, Nate Roberts. Nate Roberts, I think at one point was the number 2 tight end in America,
yeah.
per the recruiting rankings, and that was after his sophomore year. I think Ryder Mix might have better sophomore tape than Nate Roberts did, and Nate Roberts' sophomore tape was dang impressive.
Yeah, Ryder mix is really good, and there was some stud linebackers there and DBs and safeties, and he was just what I'm told, just lighting their butts up, and I just we got to witness it at the camp, like he was just it's hard to put into words when you see a kid that big move that well. And it's not that he just moves well, Parker. It's like one of those natural things. It was kind of like shocking in a way that Jason Witten's kid, what's his name?
Cooper.
Cooper Witten, whenever we watched him play defensive back, and we're like, what is going on? And
Mhm.
nobody can, like, you're just like, it's not something you see a guy that's built that way move like that. Kind of like Mark Andrews, right? Would you, if I was to compare Ryder Mix to a former OU tight end, would Mark Andrews be the one you look at?
No, I don't think so. Um, I see. Because, for instance, when Mark Andrews
And
graduated
it's
high
not a
school, he
color
was
thing. I'm just
no. I understand that, but like when Mark Andrews graduated high school, he was
No, I
still
get that. It
wide
was a wide
receiver.
receiver. Yeah.
Yeah.
But his
So I
body
think,
frame was always tight end though.
yeah, no doubt. He's also bigger than Ryder Mix is. Ryder Mix isn't quite that big. He's a big dude, but not Mark Andrews big. What would be a good
Braden
relatively?
Willis, maybe.
Uh, I mean, if
Frame
I'm,
wise, I could see Braden Willis a little bit out of high school in particular. I mean, Braden was thick and bigger.
yeah, I don't know. I'll have to noodle
James
on that one,
Hanna.
but like
I think James Hanna is actually a really good one because they're both
that's
really fast. James Hanna was freaking fast. And so was Ryder.
yeah,
Ryder
Ryder
can
can
move.
move, man, and everything he does fluidly. That's what
I'll go James Hanna. I'll go James Hanna because he was such an underrated tight end at Oklahoma. And all I can go back is that Bedlam game where he just separated himself away from everybody. What was that? 2010? Was
I
that
believe
2010
so.
or
Yeah,
11? Yeah.
2010. They won that game. What 47-41?
Yeah. He was fast. All right. You talked to a bunch of people as well. Go for
I
it.
did. Yeah. And I don't want to delve too deep into that because obviously our subscribers at ouinsider.com are
Yeah.
entitled to the bulk of that intel. And shameless plug, folks, you ought to go subscribe if you haven't already, because look, it'll cost you a few bucks a month. You will get unparalleled access to everything we know, everything we report. You're going to get the best intel, absolute best intel. I'm confident in that on OU football, recruiting, basketball, softball, you name it, pretty much across the board. We take great pride in what we do, and we believe the quality of our work reflects that. So go try
Yeah.
it out for yourself at ouinsider.com. But I will say this, I have yet to talk to a couple guys that I'm real interested in hearing from. Um, Got to talk later on with Hunter Higgins, the 3-star defensive end out of Wichita, Kansas, who was really, really impressive at camp in June. I have yet to see him with pads on a Friday night, but in the camp setting, he looks like a 4-star dude should look like. And I know that there are folks on the rankings council at Rivals that are already kind of eyeing him as a potential promotion to the ranks of blue chippers even before his junior year gets started. That's an OU Nebraska battle right now. I have a future cast in for Oklahoma. What's interesting to me is we're starting to get quite a few OU Nebraska battles. Christian
Mhm.
Jones is an OU Nebraska. I mean, we've had him in years past. Malachi Coleman, Grant Bricks come to mind, right? But in this cycle, you got Christian Jones that's coming down to OU and Nebraska. At least that's what it appears. And then looking ahead, Hunter Higgins is an OU Nebraska battle. Uh, I guess Nebraska was involved with Cortez Mills, so there's another one. Deacon Schmidt, another guy that was on campus, and another guy that I'm supposed to talk to later tonight. Uh, his top 2 schools right now, 2 schools he's real serious about, are Oklahoma and Nebraska. And I think for a lot of these kids in the Midwest, man, Nebraska is starting to become more of a factor for them than they have been in years past. I think there's some belief that what Matt Rule is doing there is going to take Devion Bonwell Whitty, 2026 wide receiver out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There's another guy that's really, really high on both Oklahoma and Nebraska. Those ones will be fun for me because obviously I know quite a few folks on either side of that divide between the Sooners and the Huskers. So yeah, I didn't really expect that they were going to emerge as another big rival on the recruiting trail for Oklahoma, but here we are. Uh, I think all in all, you look at this Sooners Under the Stars event, that the goal naturally wasn't to close things out with guys. It was more
No.
to get dudes more familiar. Montre Jackson, 2027 defensive back from down at Lakeview Centennial. And of course, one of my favorites in the 2026 class, offensive tackle Felix Ojo. Both of those guys were on campus with OU for the 3rd time this calendar year. So it's things like that, man. Just getting these dudes to campus as many times as possible, because the more you get them to campus, the harder it is for them to say no. And every time they're on campus with you on a big visit weekend, like the one that we're accustomed to having here at the end of July, which unfortunately is going away in years to come due to the adjustment of the NCAA's
Yeah.
recruiting calendar. But when they're at Oklahoma, that speaks to A, their level of interest in the program at face value, and B, what it does is it prevents other schools from hosting them. And there are guys that will make multiple visits. Like, for instance, Mason James was at Oklahoma yesterday. I think he's going to Michigan and Tennessee and Alabama consecutively. Maybe those aren't the exact 3 schools, but he's got like 4 visits. Boom, 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 boom. But the point is, when they're showing up, they're making Oklahoma a priority to go and visit there. That bodes well for you, and it gives you an opportunity to make an impression that now another school in the mix does not get.
Yeah. So Duce Geralds he was at Miami. He'll be at Miami tomorrow, or Friday. So it'll be Saturday. He'll be at Miami. He'll leave Sunday, but he also, same thing, like went to Oklahoma, left. I believe he's flying out today. I don't know, at some point. I know he just tweeted out he's excited to be back in the 305 this weekend. So he's headed that way as we speak. And it's 4:30 right now here. He just left Oklahoma. I know he came back and hung out with the staff this afternoon, or at least this morning for a good bit before he left. So there's just it means a lot, I think, and I'm interested to see how Oklahoma replicates this and how they adjust to the new timeline with this stuff moving away. Right? Like, I think you're gonna have to figure out a way for us, selfishly speaking. Oh my God, it's stupid. I didn't even do a thumbs up, but it did it. Selfishly speaking, I really would love to see like a Sooners Under Stars where we get to be there for it. Like, it's an invite only, but we could be there for the camp part. But as far as like, you have to leave at 8:00. Now it's not open to the media or the people that can go to the camp because it's invite or whatever. But that would be amazing. I know that's not ever going to probably happen, but I think they'll adjust and they'll figure out a way to make it work. I just don't want it to get to the point where they use that instead of doing an open camp and having all the top kids come in for camp. They have them just for the Sooners on their stars, and we're cut out because I think media and I think OU knows this, right? I think they understand like the media being on hand for these camps has always been a big deal for them. It's helped OU in a lot of ways. So I would hate for that to become an issue down the line. I do think they're going to figure out a way. I think the NCAA and I think the coaches will probably petition sometime in spring, right? For them to be able to, before camp season actually kicks off, to have kind of an event like that where they can camp them. And that would be kind of neat. So, but it would have to be approved by the NCAA and put into the calendar. So,
I will add this in
Go for it.
wrapping up comments on Sooners Under the Stars. I did throw in a future cast this morning,
You did.
and of course, you did too, right?
Yeah, just because you
do, and
called me and told me, and then I text a certain somebody to make sure. I don't ever, if you ever notice, like, you'll throw picks in, and I don't always just follow you, because I have to hear it for myself before I.
That's what makes us an
something.
effective duo, folks.
Yeah.
Is we're never just coattailing each other, always confirming stuff independently.
Yeah, I haven't even done it for Mason James yet, which I need to.
Yeah.
I've
Enjoying this episode of the Under the Visor podcast? There's plenty more exclusive content, including team and recruiting intel from the market's top insiders, when you become a subscriber. Head to OUinsider.com to get started today and join the vibrant online community of Sooner fans on the Rivals Network. It'll only cost you a few bucks a month, and take my word for it, we'll make it worth your while.
I'll tell you off air, but
well, so the future cast that I entered, folks, and I've had one in for Mason James since the day he got.
Yeah, you have. That proves our point.
I believed in that one from the get-go, especially with Emmit Jones being first to the table. So I think he ends up in Oklahoma's 2026 wide receiver class. And the other guy that I'm now projecting into the class is another dude that Emmit Jones was the very first coach to offer. And that would be Alger Miles out of Kaufman, Texas, 6'2", 198 pounds. Actually plays both sides of the ball. He plays wide receiver, and he's a really, really good edge rusher, too. I think, I don't know that he would ever, with how good he is a wide receiver, I don't know that any school would ever tell him, hey, you need to play defense. But if he wanted to play defense, he could probably have a collegiate future on defense. He's an excellent wide receiver prospect and a guy that, from everything I was told, had a really, really strong camp showing yesterday at Sooners Under the Stars. Emmit Jones offered him before anybody. He's now got 10 total FBS scholarship offers. But Oklahoma's his favorite. He was kind of, he freely admitted that. Oklahoma's number one. Oklahoma's the school that's recruiting him the hardest. In talking to some folks on the OU side, the word is, especially with how he looked yesterday, Emmit Jones and the OU staff aren't going to have any qualms about accepting his commitment if he indeed wants to jump. And I don't necessarily think it happens right away. He didn't give me the indication that it's going to happen right away. But I do think sometime this fall, if the current trend holds, Alger Miles is pledged to Oklahoma. So went ahead with the future cast there. I think that'll probably be the only one I end up entering off of this event. I know we already had a select few picks here and there that are already in for 26 guys, but that is the one guy it feels like that the Sooners made a
Not
really,
even Jordan
really.
Deck.
I mean, I'm gonna hold on that one for now, probably, and
Same.
I'll obviously, I'm gonna go down at some point and watch a Frisco Lone Star game this fall, and we'll see what kind of progress OU has continued to make there. But feel really good about Oklahoma and Alger Miles right now. I feel like that one's done before the end of the calendar year at this rate. So. Like him as a prospect, man, and evidently Emmit Jones does as well. When he goes out on a limb like that and he's the first to offer a dude, I mean, you think about some of the guys that he's done that before with. The two immediate examples that come to mind are Grayson Harris. Boy, did that one pan out. And Emmanuel Choice, who ended up with 35 scholarship offers by the time he committed to the University of Oklahoma.
He knows the Texas area. I mean, Emmit
And he
Jones
knows what he's looking for.
Yeah, I think you can even go back to right Texas Tech and even Kansas. He hit on several players. I think what's the big old 6'5"
Jaron Bradley.
Jaron Bradley, yeah. I mean, nailed that one. So I mean, it's just he knows what he's looking for. He knows how to, and on top of that, he knows how to develop. I was talking to one of the players at camp, and I was asking him about just Emmit Jones in general, and I said, "Is he?" He was coaching the kids hard at camp, so I just asked. I said, how is he like whenever you make a mistake?" They're like, "Oh man." You don't get it. Like, you don't make mistakes with Emmit Jones. Like, he will make you understand your mistake. But they also said at the same time, he is just one of the guys. Like, when business is business, it's business time. When before they get into business, he's going to joke around with you. Afterwards, he'll joke around. Even after he yells at you, he'll joke with you because that's over. It's time to move on. You've learned your lesson. He's made his point. You still have to coexist with each other, and you still got to be close. And they said he has a balance that's just perfect. So I thought that was an interesting conversation I had about him during the camp, just kind of with his players, just watching him coach, and what makes him so effective with recruiting. Because I think parents see that. They see that he's going to take care of their baby, and he's going to make sure that not only they discipline and they're learning responsibility on the football field and off the football field, but they're going to have somebody that they can lean on and trust. And that, I think that goes a long way, and why he kills it on the recruiting trail. I mean, he just does. Plus, he has the most amazing relationship with the Coaches Association in Texas. Because guess what? He was one of them. Kind of like Joey Maguire, right?
Well, and that's what positions him very well to be early to the table on
Yep.
guys like Grayson Harris and Manny Choice and Alger Miles, because when you have those connections across the Lone Star State, if a coach has a guy that's on the come up as a freshman or a sophomore and legit feels like he could be a P4 dude, the next big thing at that program, you, as the wide receivers coach at the University of Oklahoma, you're going to be one of the first dudes he picks up the phone for. You got a
Yeah.
strong relationship with that guy. So, having hired a guy that served as a high school coach in the Lone Star State for that long, that I believe has definitely done OU a great favor when it comes to recruiting, because Emmett Jones has a great eye, and you got to have a great eye to be early to the table with those guys. But to know they're there, to know to go looking for them, oftentimes it's not because you're just trawling the internet watching tape. It's because you know a guy, or you know a guy that knows a guy, and they
Yeah.
float a name your way and you do your homework.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the best to do it, particularly right now in college football. Um, he's quickly becoming. I think once his guys start to make it to the NFL, I'm not saying he's the next Brian Hartline or anything like that, or even Dennis Simmons right now, right? Like I think that's an unfair comparison with their history, right? They've been doing it for decades. So, but he's quickly becoming to be put in those conversations with them at some point down the line, and I don't think that's hyperbole.
Somebody mentioned it today on the board at ouinsider.com, and it rings oh so true. It's going to really suck whenever Emmett Jones gets a head coaching gig and
Oh yeah,
bounces. Like, that's, and look, it's going to happen at some point. Like, he's too good of a coach not to get an opportunity like that at some point. And so it's obviously it's not going to last forever, but for him at Oklahoma, but while he's here, while he is at the University of Oklahoma coaching wide receivers, that's probably not a position group you're going to have to worry about. And the
no,
depth and the talent level in this unit heading into 2024 is all the evidence you need of that. Where that room was at when he took the job and where it's at now. I mean, what a stark difference. Now, what's funny was I wrote the piece the other day, the 5 dudes that have the most to prove in fall camp for the
mm-hmm.
Sooners. I put Jalil Farouk on the list just because, like, who would have thought 8 months ago that there would be a legit question as to whether Jalil Farouk would be among the starting 11 for Oklahoma come week 1 of the 2024 season? And yet here we are. And that is a legit question because of the work that Emmett Jones has done cultivating one of the most talented wide receiver rooms in the entire country, without exception.
Yeah. The weird part is we haven't heard a ton from Tank Carrington on the visit, right? The other,
Ooh, yeah, I need to check in with him.
yeah. I just reached out. He's gonna be he's a guy that I feel Oklahoma's going to be in on. I don't know why. I just do. It feels like because he's so quiet on social media, and notoriously those guys are OU guys.
I will say, just having had a couple conversations with Tank Carrington, getting to know the person that he is, it's very clear that from a personality standpoint, from a value system standpoint,
Mhm.
he's going to mesh pretty well with Oklahoma. Now, that's not necessarily the determining factor in his recruitment, or will it be? But there's going to be a lot of interest there. I think from Carrington's side, obviously there's a lot of interest from OU's side. I think that interest is going to be reciprocated, if only for the fact that there seems to be a lot in common between what drives Oklahoma as a program and what Carrington is looking for in a program.
Yeah. Do you feel like just in your conversations, do you feel like Oklahoma can be one of those teams that gets an official visit from him
I do.
down the
Yeah.
line?
I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to go up against some major heavy hitters. That's kind of what you have to consider with Carrington and Duce Geralds and really anybody. Like, when you're talking top 50 players in the country, you kind of have to approach it with the understanding that the best programs in college football are also going to be pursuing this guy's commitment. And so it's not a battle that you're going to win easily, especially
Yeah,
when they're that far out of state. Carrington in Las Vegas and Gerald's down in Georgia.
I got you. No doubt. Well, Las Vegas, I mean, DeMarco Murray, Bishop Gorman, Oklahoma's going to have a say there for just a bit, at least get their foot in the door, just with DeMarco Murray on staff. So, all right. Anything else we need to discuss on this podcast other than if you want deep intel on Sooners on the Stars, go to OU Insider VIP. That's where it's at. We have dropped so many notes already. I'm literally about to drop another note, particularly on Jaden O'Neal, and then I'll drop some things on what I've been told as far as Markel Ford. Trying to think of some other guys that I talk. Oh, a few other guys on the defense and offense. We've got notes coming on them as well. So I know Parker's got his notes coming. I think in total we've probably dropped 6 or 7 already.
There's a lot of info.
Yeah, there's a lot of info already, and it hasn't even been 24 hours since the event happened. So we're on top of OU Insider VIP. Make sure you're over there. $9.95 a month, $9.95 will get you a whole year because we're gonna have fall camp starts. Like we're gonna be recording another podcast on, I believe, Sunday to get ready for fall camp starting on Monday. And here we go, folks. Football season is nigh. And I'm stoked, Parker. And if you want to be involved and know what's going on with practices, because we're going to get to go to practices, we're going to get viewings, we're going to have observations, we're going to tell you who's starting, who's doing what, all this. It's all going to be, it's behind a paywall, unfortunately, for you guys. But I'm just telling you, like, our observation, everything that we do, $9.95 a month, $9.95. And there's so many thousands of OU fans already on there. Like, our board is rocking right now. It's fun. There's a lot of discussions going on. There's a discussion going on about a defensive player that is nicked up that we didn't report, but it got out. We have confirmed it. It's on there. There's just a lot going on OU Insider VIP, not just recruiting, basketball recruiting as well. A lot of team stuff, a lot of team notes, Q&As, chats, all that. All that's over there. You can start your own thread. You can do whatever on OU Insider VIP. And you can join the discussion with all your OU fan brethren at ouinsider.com. Just sign up for Rivals for free. And if you ever want to hit me up, you can go to at my Twitter at bdrum_rivals, and you can ask, and I may be able to give you a comp or something if you want to just try us out and just give us a try. Just hit us up. We can help you. If you're struggling and you want to try us out, we can help you for a month or two sometimes just to help you get your foot in the door. We're okay. We're good guys. We'll help you. We love the more OU fans, the merrier. Yeah, the more OU fans, the merrier. So give us a shot. Give us a try. ouinsider.com VIP. All right. You got anything else, Parker?
I got nothing else. Let's call it a wrap.
All right.
We'll obviously have much more intel coming, as we said, and we'll record another podcast early next week.
Yep.
By the way, listen to the Oklahoma drill too. We didn't touch on Nigel Kennedy's 7-figure NIL deal with Texas Tech, but Jesse and Brian discussed that and all of the latest and greatest in OU news and music in their latest episode of the Oklahoma drill. So give that a shot. And then the Barry and Max show as well. Got 3 real solid podcasts in our lineup that we are proud to bring you every single week, covering everything from all angles.
Yep. And then in the paint during the basketball season as well. So that'll be fun too. All right. We got all that covered for you. If you want right here, stay subscribed to this YouTube channel. A lot of the content that we were talking about just now, all those podcasts are right here. If you're watching us on YouTube, or subscribe to whatever platform you listen to us on, any podcast platform. All right. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.